Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Kim O'Brien here. It's really a pleasure to be with you all this morning. I'm a real admirer of Pastor Dana and Galilee Church. I think you all have a beautiful thing going on there at Rice Street, and Pastor Dana and Ron and many others have been wonderful partners in the community. So it's a real honor to join you guys this morning. So thanks, Ron, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Kim O'Brien. My employer is actually the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. And what I do there at the Chamber of Commerce is support kind of contract work and community building, community development work, and supporting other nonprofit business associations through contracts and grants and things. So that's my day job. And as part of that, I have been contracted now for 3 years to manage an organization that we're building called the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. And so I serve as the executive director of that organization. And Galilee has been a founder, really. I view you as a founder of the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance because every step of the way, Galilee has been there in the community to host meetings very early on to bring community together. And then really building off of some of the success that you guys have been able to achieve, like, I mean, the best example, the most visible example is that Rice Street Gardens initiative, and which is just a treasure. And so, so maybe I do have a slide presentation, but that's just me. I'm also a mom. I have 2 kids and I live in St. Paul, although just to the east in the Battle Creek neighborhood of St. Paul. So, and before I worked at the Chamber, I worked for St. Paul City Council for 7 years. And before that, I worked in nonprofit development and also in advertising and marketing. So I love community. I love, where people come together and make something greater than themselves, which I think is, what, church is too, right? It's realizing that when individuals come together around shared purpose and, I know you call it fellowship, but those relationships can blossom into something so much more that benefits not only the individuals involved, but everyone around. So that's what I love to do as well. And so I'm really pleased to be able to be a part of the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. So does any of you on this call live in the Rice and Larpenteur community, or would you consider yourself living close to Galilee, or where are you guys from? Yeah? Joyce, Teresa? Does any,
35 Mellon Avenue on town, on the old east side, they call it.
Nice.
Hand Avenue.
And with that,
Hand Avenue, just off North McCarran's.
oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So for most of you, you guys live in this area or certainly really close by. So this affects you individually and affects your church community and your interest in supporting the surrounding neighborhood. So anyways, I'm excited to tell you about it. So maybe I'll just share my screen now.
Yeah, everybody, you can put this on the speaker view, then I think it will, well, I guess it'll show up in any case. Never mind. There you go.
Before I start, I just want to show you our website, the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. It's called riceandlarpenteur.com. And this is kind of the hub where you can learn more about us, including the vision plan, our partners, and lots of other stuff. So we've published recently an annual report, which I invite you to check out. Pastor Dana is actually featured in the report, so maybe I'll show it really quick. Pastor Dana is probably embarrassed to keep bragging about her, but she is really a wonderful representative and community leader. You all are so, and as you know, just lucky to have her. But yeah, so here's our annual report. So you can read more about us here. And Pastor Dana was kind enough to provide a testimonial that the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance created a framework for us to be neighborly with each other, reaching across city boundaries intentionally for the sake of everyone who lives and works in the area. So I thought that was a really nice testimonial that she provided to us. So here's my presentation. This will revolve around kind of what we've been able to accomplish in 2020. I presented it to the Roseville and Maplewood City Councils recently. Also, while I'm presenting this, I can't see you all very well. So feel free to just interrupt me or jump in with questions or if something is going weird with the technology. So here's a little background about the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. So it started really in 2015. I think there was a kickoff event at Galilee, if I recall. And really the city leaders of St. Paul, Roseville, and Maplewood came together to discuss possible collaboration to improve that Larpenteur Avenue corridor. So that's the east-west, right? Just south of Galilee. Then in 2016, the Chamber of Commerce, which I didn't work for at the time, but they actually brought in an urban planning group, Smart Growth America, to consult. So that kind of put a little bit more meat on the bones, and people came together to talk about it and what it would mean to improve the corridor. And then it became very clear in that process that Rice and Larpenteur, that hub there, that intersection, was really the most in need of immediate attention and improvements and focus. Then in 2017, those three cities created a joint powers agreement kind of thing where they hired Perkins and Will, which is a Minneapolis-based urban planning firm, to help generate a community-driven vision plan. And I know many of you were part of that process as well. At the same time, the Urban Land Institute awarded the area a Healthy Corridors Study grant. So it kind of layered on top of the vision plan and the Healthy Corridors Study grant. And between these two reports,
What? Talk later. Yeah.
So then in 2018, which this is kind of amazing, right? You've got three cities coming together and they're all approving kind of the same vision, the same plan. And so in 2018, each of those cities formally adopted this plan. And then in 2019, they realized, well, now that the planning process is over, how do we actually make it come alive? We need to have some body be responsible for implementation of the plan. So we applied to be that group, and my organization, the Chamber of Commerce, was awarded a contract with those three cities to lead the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance, or at that time it wasn't even called that, but and we were successful at getting some funding early on from the philanthropic community to kind of help launch it. So the first year in 2019 of the implementation phase was just the cities coming together and talking about how to do this and launching that website I showed you and creating an infrastructure. We created, you know, the logo and the name. You know, there was a naming discussion for the neighborhood. Do we call it, you know, the Rice McCarran's neighborhood? Do we call it someone, we had Tri-Town, you know, for like the three cities. There was, so we did all of that kind of work, you know, and tried to demonstrate some real progress too by doing community events and bringing people together and engaging folks. And so that was 2019. And then in 2020, we launched a community-based advisory group now instead of just the government representatives being the alliance, we encourage local residents, business owners, plus government officials, all coming together to create this new organization, this Rice Larpenteur Alliance. And we had about, 50 people on the board last year. So 2020 was a little different than we expected. But we were able to achieve a lot nonetheless. And in fact, the pandemic offered us opportunities to serve the community in unexpected ways as well. So we jumped on those. A little bit more background, the vision statement from the plan, which is available online, is that the Rice and Larpenteur Gateway area will be a safe, engaging, and inviting neighborhood center that includes common spaces, a high-quality pedestrian environment, and robust reinvestment for the diverse people of the surrounding communities to live, conduct business, and play together. So that is the statement of the plan. And then the plan is actually quite extensive and goes into details, like what the streetscape should look like, where the redevelopments could be, where new housing may be added, because we have an affordable housing shortage. So those kinds of things. Since the Alliance adopted 3 core values: diversity and representation. So we know that in order to be a voice for the community and bring people together, that it can't be people who don't make up the community itself. So we need our organization to be representative of the community it serves. So that means people from different cultural, ethnic, racial backgrounds, different ages. We really try to be representative and continue to strive for that. Non-displacement is another core value. And what that means to us is that we want to ensure that there is no buddy who suddenly cannot afford to live in the neighborhood anymore as a result of our efforts. You know, some people call it gentrification, when, you know, an area has a renewal and then people can no longer afford their housing, or the businesses can no longer afford their rent. It's really important to us that any improvements made in the community are made for the community that already, you know, lives there. So that's non-displacement being a core value of ours. And then a strengths-based approach. Sometimes it's easy when you see a lot of change and not all of it feels positive to think, well, this is what's wrong and that is what's wrong. So much wrong, and we need to address those things. And I'm not saying we don't, but I'm saying that the best way to address those things is to build off of what is right. And there are so many strengths the Rice and Larpenteur neighborhood has. Galilee Church being a huge one, right? A strength to build from. The Rice Street Gardens, the diversity, the entrepreneurship, the lake. I mean, there's so many wonderful things about the community to build from. So that's the approach we take. That's a value of ours. And then, you know, just digging into that 2018 plan a little bit, these were some of the goals of it. So it's creating walkability and bikeability, connecting more to the Lake McCarran's Park. So as you know, there's a beautiful county park and a lake right in the neighborhood, but you can just easily buzz right by it on Rice Street. And if you live south of Larpenteur, it feels really scary just to walk or bike there, right? So how do we make that asset a true shared community asset and build off of that? Obviously, new housing, as I mentioned, new jobs and small scale community amenities like more restaurants. These are kind of the things that the vision plan works towards. So now we can talk about the 2020 highlights. I'll say these quickly, and then I do have some photos to share with you, which are way more interesting to look at. But yes, in 2020, we were able to launch a community-based advisory board that included government officials, business owners, residents, and nonprofit partners. One of the things we did really early on was to distribute stay-at-home kits to families. So when the schools shut down early in the pandemic, we thought, gosh, you know, we can't have an event right now, but we want to demonstrate our care and support for what families are going through right now. And so we were able to really quickly mobilize and deliver these kits through our multifamily partners. And I know that through the gardens, we distributed kits as well to families. We launched a business improvement grant program. So this was funded through Ramsey County, and we were able to help local businesses create outdoor patios. Like there's a new patio outside of McCarran's Pub, for example, close to where you live. That was partially funded by our grant program. Or maybe some of you have seen the whimsical mural on the side of the Woof Room building, which is a dog daycare. We helped pay for that. We did pay for that
Oh,
and
cool.
encourage that. So we were able to support local businesses, both meet the needs of the day while achieving some of our vision plan goals through that grant program. We are in the process of creating a neighborhood signage plan that will help people kind of get around and orient themselves to the community and establish that brand more. I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end because I know it's especially of interest to this organization, but facilitating the relationship between the St. Paul Regional Water Services and a developer who is interested in developing housing at the Rice Street Garden site long-term. So we were able to facilitate that relationship, and then we'll support conducting community outreach around that redevelopment in the years to come. And let's see. Oh yeah, so this is exciting. Hopefully some of you guys know, you probably know where the My Thrift store is, right? Like, so that parking lot, we were able to connect the owner of that building with a St. Paul City grant program, and together they're investing in a parking lot rehabilitation that should start here in a couple months. So that parking lot will be resurfaced. There will be a new sidewalk. Some of you know there's not a sidewalk along Rice Street on that huge stretch. That's not acceptable. So now there's going to be a sidewalk and also a small community parklet right at the corner there too, where we can have tables and food trucks and more community use. So that will be starting in a month or so. So anyway, we helped do all that. This organization was really powerful because people came together. And there's a whole nother page. The Rice and Larpenteur event, I know Galilee was a stop on that tour, as was the Rice Street Gardens. It was a phenomenal event amidst a pandemic, provided much needed community outlet and socialization and fun, and highlighted our awesome community. So it was great. And we also had a couple of other events, the Gift and Go event and a winter warmer event. So we had some awesome events despite the pandemic. We adopted a public art implementation plan and installed several pieces of public art in the community, including at Lake McCarran's, there's a rose sculpture and also murals painted on the picnic pavilion. And we're working with the same artist for another art installation at the park in 2021. So look out for that. Many of you have seen the garbage and recycling bins that we have throughout the neighborhood as you drive through. They say Rice and Larpenteur Alliance on the front, and there's garbage and recycling. Trying to address the litter problem. It's a huge problem in the community, especially down by the strip malls. And we've partnered with 16 businesses and to maintain those bins that are for public use. So we view that as a success. And Larpenteur Avenue has been rebuilt as a direct result of the vision plan. So when you drive through Larpenteur Avenue, you know it's no longer 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. Several people have lost their lives on that road trying to cross. And this new configuration is much safer and also has pedestrian amenities like crosswalks and refuge islands and things like that. I'm sorry if this is too much detail, but I'm so proud of the work. So Ron, feel free to speak me up. Lots of small business outreach. So even like being here with you guys today, you're not a business, but you're a community organization. I do look forward to these types of opportunities to talk about Rice and Larpenteur Alliance with other businesses and anyone who wants to talk about it, bringing as many people into the process as possible. And then I know that Pastor Dana is especially committed in her heart to help reduce violence in the neighborhood or eliminate violence in the neighborhood. In June, a young woman was killed outside of the Lamplighter Lounge, and her name was Nia Black, and her family is just a beautiful family, and they are continue to advocate for an end to community gun violence, and also for safer conditions out at the Lamplighter Lounge. She's only 21 years old, and she should not have lost her life. And we were able, as a community organization, to partner with Mothers Against Community Gun Violence, her family's organization, to participate and support a peace march following her death. And they're going to continue to do that peace march every year. And we can talk more about the Lamplighter at the end as well, but there are opportunities for our community now to come together with a shared voice saying we will not accept violence in our community. So yeah, and then transit improvements. So more recently, the Metropolitan Council and Metro Transit has identified Rice Street Corridor as a future route for bus rapid transit, which is like a better bus. So we already have buses going up and down Rice Street. Bus rapid transit is hugely successful elsewhere in the metro, and it creates better shelters, better stops, more frequent service, a dedicated bus lane. Usually it will be a giant improvement to transit in the neighborhood, and so many residents rely on transit to get to school and work and etc. So we look forward to that in the future as well. And really our community coming together with a shared voice is the reason that Rice Street was selected ultimately. So now the pictures. This was February 2020, just a month before everything shut down for COVID. We had the Winter Warmer event. Pastor Dana was there. And we shared a meal at Nepali Kitchen, which is right there on the Maplewood side at the corner. It's a former Stargate nightclub, which the city of Maplewood shut down after gun violence there. And now is a Nepali grocery store. And then next door is a Nepali restaurant, and the food is delicious. So we had this wonderful event, got to see a Nepali dance performance, and launched our community-based advisory committee.
I had a dinner at the Nepali restaurant. It was really good.
Good.
During that festival, and it was like, hey, this is super.
Yeah, the tour, we got to highlight them at the tour as well.
It was funny because they were giving away free food and everybody was trying to get in there. And I went in and just bought the thing. And then it was like, after that, no one else could get free food. And they were all disappointed, but the stuff I bought was excellent.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that. Well, these small businesses could certainly use everyone's support these days. And if you need a restaurant recommendation in the neighborhood, man, we've got some great ones. So support these local, small, family-owned restaurants right now is a huge help. This is our advisory board from 2020. You can see it's a lot of names here, and I just want to highlight that. It really has brought together a lot of people who care about Rice and Larpenteur community. These were some photos from our stay-at-home kit initiative that I mentioned. So, you know, Rana is a property manager at a large apartment complex. She helped us. The bag themselves contained donations of toilet paper when it was it was not available. So we were able to work with Costco to set aside a pallet of toilet paper and grocery items from Cub Foods, school supplies and art supplies for the kids from a nonprofit, Kids in Need Foundation. So we just brought all these partners together and we're able to distribute these. So which was very cool. I mean, this photo of this little boy holding his bag with that smile just makes my heart sing. So it wasn't an event, but it was a great way to show community care. And here's some photos from our awesome Rice and Larpenteur. So you see the gardens were a stop. You know, we had public art going on. It was just a really special day. Here's some more photos from that event, bringing together partners. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being a stop. Galilee put out those some delicious treats and was a stop on our passport too as people navigated the community. So we had this activity passport and we really got people moving throughout the neighborhood to different activities all in that one day. Very ambitious, but very worthwhile. And these are those garbage and recycling bins I mentioned. We also host litter pickups. So if anyone in the congregation or any partners are interested, we're going to have another litter pickup on April 24th this year. So, you know, just it's the simplest and most direct way to beautify the community, and is just picking up trash. And when people walk by and they see it, it makes them do it too. So we'll keep up. This was a little bit more about our public art and business support program. A lot of these pictures are the public art, but this was the woof room. We also did some signs and patios and other great stuff with that program.
That cheers me up every time I drive by there with those
I know.
dogs. Yeah, they're so happy.
I love that mural. I love that mural.
Kim, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Maybe you or Ron could answer this. I heard that somebody is going to carry some housing development in the guiding area. How would that affect the guiding us?
Yeah.
How would that affect us? Will we still continue to guiding or what?
Yes. So I think we need to come back and talk about that Rice Street Gardens redevelopment, but maybe I just have like 2 more slides of the year's accomplishments, and then let's circle back around to that, because we are going to need you. We're going to need your guidance. We're going to need community to step in and help create the vision. And we have the opportunity to do that together. So, but I just have like 1 more slide and then I'll be done. This was the Gift and Go event. So this just took place this last December. We couldn't have a winter event where people came together like we would have want to. So we had a drive-by gifting, and we also created a shopping local guide and did a community survey. And we did $5 Cub Foods gift certificates and masks and sanitizer and some other goodies in there. So, and it really was just a fun, easy way to bring holiday cheer to the community, provide some welcomes, help and support, and promote our local businesses. And then this is an example of some of the wayfinding signage that hopefully you'll start seeing around the neighborhood as we get funding to install it. But again, it's about kind of establishing our community brand throughout the area and helping people kind of understand, like, oh, Lake McCarran's Park is this way, you know, the Grand Rounds is this way. There's a shopping district this way, you know. So really connecting community together through these signs.
Cool.
So that was my 2020 highlight presentation. We have a 2021 work plan as well. And yeah, so, and one of the main things on the 2021 work plan for the Alliance will be to do some community engagement and outreach around the Rice Street Gardens site, which eventually will become a housing development with some garden, community garden space set aside. And also we're hoping other community public amenities, like maybe a farmer's market or something like that. The way that kind of came to be was that in the vision plan that was created in 2018, that site was identified. It is 14 acres. 13 acre is big. And it was owned by the water department. And they had thought maybe eventually they would want to, they would need it to build more infrastructure. Well, now they know for sure that they do not. The water services does not need it for infrastructure. And they have, you know, been a partner, I know, to you, the Rice Street Gardens organization, in creating that amazing community garden. I mean, it is one of a kind in the Twin Cities. There is almost nothing else like it. What you guys have created, and I know Ron has been a huge leader. I don't think it would have happened without Ron, right? But it is very special. And so yeah, but we always knew that it wasn't probably going to remain at least such a large part of it as a community garden indefinitely, that eventually that the water services would have to sell it. And what the vision plan showed for it was an area to add much needed housing to the community. So the vision plan calls for housing at, you know, different levels, everything from home ownership to affordable rental to maybe even supportive housing. It can be a community with lots of different types of housing potentially. And that included in that plan was an effort to maintain gardens. I don't know to the extent of how much garden space will eventually be in there. I don't know who the partner will be to manage the gardens. The housing developer does the housing and is willing to partner with an organization to do the gardening. But all of those pieces have yet to come together. There's also a huge financial piece of this. You know, the numbers need to work. So the developer, who is named Rich Packinen, Pack Properties, has created a team and has created some ideas based on the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance's vision plan of what might fit on the site, and then what funding resources are needed to actually make it happen. These days, you can't really build affordable housing without subsidy. So he will be going to, you know, county partners, state partners, city partners to find resources like tax credits and other tools in place to help make that housing affordable, which is of utmost importance to the Alliance. So affordable housing, and then on their vision, how to create space for a continuation of gardening. So where we're at right now is that the funding still needs to be put in place. The whole package needs to be put in place for it to even happen. That will take probably a year at least. So obviously you guys know that your growing season is not impacted this year. And as far as next year, I don't know. My guess is it's going to take a long time for this full package to come together. And in the meantime, we are invited to work with the city of Maplewood, work with the developer, and as a community to say, these are what we want. This is our idea of how this might work with the garden. This is what we don't want, you know, and really create a vision jointly that will work in the long run. So
Kim, can you let me comment a little bit? I think the plans, I mean, in the Pack company is trying really hard to make something which is wonderful for the neighborhood. They're not just throwing something up, but they're trying to make it so that people whole families could live. The kind of people that live in the area could have a wonderful place to live, and at as much as possible at an affordable rental rate. There is a lot of tension between they're making some money on the deal, you know, and that's where they need these subsidies. And on the other hand, providing something which is really affordable. That's probably one of the bigger concerns. You know, from a personal point of view, I think if they could put up really beautiful, affordable housing that that need is as great as the need for a garden in the area. So I'm pretty supportive of if they can come up with a good plan and make it work. My guess, Abe, is that the amount of space for gardening will be very small, because to the extent they put gardens up, they don't make any resource. So they're going to make that smaller. And my guess is, this is just a guess, is that it's going to be garden space mostly for the people who are residents there. So, and the Rice Trees Gardens people, we have promised 5 years ago to the water department that we would not complain if the space was ultimately sold. And I know that you love the area, and a lot of people have gotten benefit from having a garden there. But you have to look in totality, having wonderful housing there for a large number of low-income people would be also very, very valuable. And we'd probably go look for some other place to put gardens up. Anyway, go ahead, Kim.
Well,
That's my view.
I think that that's very amazing of you, Ron, given everything that you have put into that. And I disagree with you that we can't make space for community garden. That's not just for residents. But I might be wrong. But right now, it is not decided that there won't be a community garden. It is not decided that if there is, it would only be for residents. None of that has been decided. And the fact that what you have created is so special and so worth building off of. We have a member of our board from McGough Construction Company. He's like a vice president, like he's like real fancy guy. Like he's really smart. He's like, wait, you're developing the garden site? You can't do that. That is the most amazing thing we have going at Rice and Larpenteur. And I was like, whoa, here I have a housing developer telling me we can't develop housing because this garden is such an important amenity and so unique. So I just want to say that your view is appreciated, and I agree that housing is a core human need, and we need more of it.
Kim, can I ask a question? On some of the drawings, there was a road leading to a place farther north. Apparently, there's an open space up there somewhere. Is that a very large area, or is that a possible place to move the garden? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Is it the other space that the water services owns? They own 2 lots.
I'm not sure. There was kind of a picture of a road leading farther north, close, towards Cub.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It might be a part of they didn't show it as, a plan for that area.
Yeah, the Dairy Farmers of America own a big swath of land.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And so I think there is a lot of land in the neighborhood, and the area has a rich history of farming, dairy farm. I mean, I just think it's my hope that we can come together and continue that important amenity, even if it's different, and it will be different. But I think there's space for that. If we work together, we can achieve that. Look at what you've achieved all on your own.
Do you know one reason he was able to achieve it is because he walked and cut down and Abraham too. The weeds were way above, taller than Abe and Ron. And it was, they come back, I thought they might have heart attacks, just like heat exhaustion and chopping down all those. And they used every little space that didn't have trees on it.
Wow.
So it is 12 acres, but 2 acres they discovered is tall weeds that are actually able to clear. So I wonder,
you should have seen
in all the woods? Sorry.
Abraham was totally covered with burrs. He had like a giant burr hat. It was amazing.
Well, yeah, I hope they reconsider keeping that garden. I don't want to look for another space. I love that place. So I hope they figure something out.
Well, I want to know kind of like what role the Rice Street Garden community can have in this project moving forward. Like, I don't want to, I can't speak for the gardeners because I don't garden there. I just visit from time to time. So how do I, who do I work with to like have, to get the feedback like that, and from you and from others, as to like how important it is to you, and where, you know, if we were to build something different, what your feedback would be. How do I work with you, Abe, or Ron, or?
I'd say, you know, it was volunteer run for the first 4 years or so. And, I mean, to the point where Sherry and Ron and Catherine were just, wow, you know, exhausted, but still dedicated, and Abraham exhausted. So we got, thanks to Miriam and Ron and the group who stayed up till midnight, because I'm terrible at writing grants. We got a grant for just 2 years from the domestic hunger of the ELCA. That's our kind of national church, for 3 years. Yay.
Yeah.
So then we were able to pay someone a couple $1,000 named Dana Ferguson. So that eases up the heavy load on Sherry and Ron and Catherine and Abe, our volunteers.
Yeah.
So if I wonder about that, period.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pastor Dana, and Dana is on my board. So I definitely work with Dana. And so maybe so soon as we have something, we should gather a meeting of the Rice Street Gardens community and bring in the developer and just have a conversation to start with. So that will be a start, and it won't be the end. We'll need to work together over the next probably 2 years. And it won't be everything to everybody, but it will be special and new. So
the mayor of Maplewood, Abrams, invited me. She really wants me to come to a meeting about tiny houses in Maplewood.
Oh.
And I'm kind of like, I kind of want to spend more time with Galilee and here and right in Roseville. And I don't know if I'm going to go or not, just because of time commitment and it's on my day off. But I also, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to, I mean, I care about Maplewood. I care about everything they're doing, but I don't want to veer attention away from the development of housing around our gardens. Does anybody know, do you know about that, what she's talking about? Like, I don't,
I kind of have an idea. I know that some churches have actually built small houses on their property for homeless individuals. And there's been a big legal battle about it with cities, but cities are now being more partners to those churches because our homelessness problem is unacceptable and the cities have not been able to resolve it. So the faith community in some places have come together for a solution that is at least something. And so I'm guessing it has something to do with, and I know one of the churches in Maplewood has the homes on their parking lot. So
it wouldn't be a distraction away from the gardens, my role in the gardens or anything by attending that.
I have no idea about that. And I support you in focusing on the Rice Larpenteur community as well, because we have a lot to do. So
Ron, sorry, that's all. No, I have to say, what about little houses in the woods on the 12 acres, on the 10 acres that haven't been cleared for community gardens? Ron and Abe, when you hiked all around,
we used to have a person who lived in a tent in the woods by the garden, and it was a perfect place for a homeless person because they had water source there, they had a biffy, and they had all this food in the gardens they could just grab. And so we let them live there for a whole summer, and it was it's not there anymore, but yeah.
No, in fact, the fellow back there, it was his home. He brought his family there. They live all day, stay there all day, then go home in the evening.
Oh, that's a different guy, but yeah.
He even had somewhere to keep food, like a refrigerator. Like, I mean, he made it his home. So
I don't know, Kim, if you know Mr. Lou. That's who Abe's talking about, but he virtually lives there, and he did all the mowing last year.
oh, that's right.
We gave him a special award plaque because he was such a the gardeners themselves are pretty much taking care of the garden's maintenance now. And so it's actually wonderful.
So remind me how many plots again? I always misquote it.
How many plots? Well, I think last year we had nominally 280.
Wow.
Yeah, it kind of crept up because people keep stretching their gardens into the new areas. We probably could get to 300 if we tried, but that's roughly it.
So 280, and then is there then 280 families?
Kind of, yeah. Although sometimes, like in Abe's case, he and his daughter have separate gardens, but Abe, in fact, takes care of his daughter's garden.
I don't know. I saw Adrian out there. I mean, Adrian and Nigel sweating away.
Yeah, sometimes the families come out and Mr. Lou, I think, takes care of about 4 or 5 gardens, but yeah, but nominally every family only supposed to have 1 garden.
Sure. Well, it's just absolutely amazing. And I just cannot fathom being part of something that doesn't honor that moving forward while addressing the need for housing. I'm amazed and astounded by what you have achieved. And so let's I hope that you will be part of the vision for the future of the site, a big part of it. And I hope that we can make something really even better, maybe. And then I don't know if it's working with the gardeners to find other places to plot in the interim too. I could see that to garden. I could see that being an important thing. Like, if this displaces some gardeners, can we help connect them with other local places to, maybe there's something to do there, but yeah. And then I know we're kind of coming up on time, but I did want to at least touch on the Lamplighter Lounge issue. But was there any kind of last questions or thoughts on the Rice Street Gardens or anything else?
Kim, I have a couple of questions that don't relate to the gardens, but I'd like to know because I've been asked and I haven't been there. First of all, if I went to this Nepali restaurant, what would I order?
Well, so the question, I think, and you were kind of going in and out a little bit, but I think I heard the question was, if you went to the Nepali restaurant, what should you order?
Yes. Because I know nothing about Nepali food.
Don't pick the most spicy thing. My first question, what is it that is not too spicy? Abe would probably eat anything there, but I would say be careful.
So interesting, in Nepal there is a heavy vegetarian culture too, but they also have a lot of meat. So their specialties are like chicken and lamb and meats like that.
Okay.
And then if you also have vegetarian options, which I kind of lean towards those, I like paneer cheese, which is, you can get like a curry dish that is baked in this like special kind of Indian cheese cubes, and over rice, and this freshly baked bread, kind of like naan. But they often have a buffet. So that would be a really good opportunity to go in and check out the buffet, because then you could try a little of everything.
Everything, yeah. That's what
That's why I was about to test you. Since they got a buffet, just go look through, taste what you like. Yeah, just go through.
Nice.
I absolutely love Nepali food. It's so good. So
They have takeout.
You have takeout service?
Yep, they're doing mostly takeout these days. So they don't have delivery, I don't think, but you just call or walk in and place an order. They're very wonderful, friendly people. In fact, it might be fun for one of these fellowships in the future to have some local restaurants come and talk to you about their menus and stuff like that. And, because it can feel intimidating to go to a restaurant where you've never had the food before and you don't know what to order, what the experience is going to be like. But really great special businesses these are. So
Great. And the second question, Kim, I had, and I'll try to keep it real brief. A friend of mine asked me, what happens at the saloon? Is that a good place to go?
The Wilebski's Blue Saloon?
Yes.
Yeah. Wilebski's has not been very active over the last couple of years, even before the pandemic, and even less so now. I think they were doing like two nights a week. They do like a Latino night that is run by a partner. And they also do a blues jam on Tuesday nights, which my husband goes and plays guitar at occasionally.
Nice.
And they have like a Friday night party often as well. So the owner of that I'm on a texting basis with him. He's adopted a garbage bin. He has donated and paid for a band and a stage every year for our Rice and Larpenteur, or for our summer or tour event. And we're going to continue that partnership. He wants to be part of the solution in the neighborhood. And he is trying to keep his business quiet as possible. And really, I have not heard of any incidents there for years. So yeah.
That's terrific. And I said one more question. Now I have one more. The crime, the crime rate on Rice and Larpenteur, for a while there was really bad. With this resurgence of the Rice and Larpenteur improvement plan, where do you think the crime rates are going to be? I know that you mentioned, housing and displacement of people, and you've addressed that. But do you think that the crime rate, people will not be afraid to walk around in that area with these improvements?
I mean, I can't promise that, but that is my sincere prayer and hope. And we are operating on the assumption that the more connected we are, the more we get out and get to know each other and talk to each other, the more we move about the neighborhood doing positive things, the less space there will be for negative things.
Right.
So it's our hope that in the long term, this will improve, criminal or dangerous behavior, but it is a long slog, and we will have setbacks along the way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but we are committed to making it a safe, beautiful neighborhood for everyone. Right there at that intersection, so many children live, so many children. It is not just, when you drive through, you just see fast food restaurants and laundromats and tobacco shops or whatever. And the truth is that there are hundreds, thousands of families with children walking to school, walking to the park, just getting by. And so it needs to be safe for those children.
Absolutely. And for what it's worth. Oh, go ahead, Abe.
Kim, I agree with you for the safety in that area. I saw a car hit somebody right at the Rice and Larpenteur in my presence. I had just come out of Walgreens. That is a dangerous area.
Yeah, it is. It is.
He got hit and the guy didn't see him for the way he came. Yeah, so that's a dangerous area. I agree with you for safety.
It was too an arcade. Every avenue has their faults, I'll tell you. They were good in the old days, but let's hope they can be good again.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see.
Yeah. Kim, can you say a few words about the Lamplighter? I know the pastor has brought it up in at least 2 sermons, and I'm kind of curious what you know about that area.
Sure. So the Lamplighter Lounge is the wrong word is gentleman's club, right? Because there are no gentlemen there. It is I'll just say it, it's a strip club, and it's right in the heart of our community in that My Thrift Store mall. It's been there for years and years. It is the last remaining strip club in the city of St. Paul. And it's in the wrong spot because of all those families and community who lives there. It is, and even though I don't hear or see much of it, and I spend a lot of time in the neighborhood, what happens from time to time is violent incidents outside of the establishment, which are not uncommon to nightclubs of all all types. But this has an added layer of, you know, distastefulness, because we know that a lot of people who work in these kind of sex trade businesses are victims themselves. So there is the issue of, you know, how women are victimized as part of that industry altogether. And then there's the related issue of just the impact of the business on the community and being a magnet for violence and crime and nuisance behavior. So, so to that end, there has been several incidents of gun violence outside of the Lamplighter in that parking lot, which is an area that we consider the heart of our community. We're investing in that neighborhood. I talked about the parking lot rehabilitation and the parklet and the food trucks and the events we want to have there. And so there has been fights, there has been crime, there has been death. 21-year-old Nia Black lost her life last year for a senseless fight between women at the bar, and then someone pulled out a gun. So the perpetrator of that incident, the person who fired the gun, is on trial currently. So they have found that person, but there remains the systemic issues of what's happening outside of the Lamplighter Lounge late at night. When we did the Peace March with Nia's family and friends last June, people in the apartment building behind the strip mall were sitting on balconies yelling down, "Close the place down." People were coming down to meet with the group and saying, "Oh, a bullet hit our building last week. Oh, we call the police every weekend. It's so loud, my children can't sleep." And so this is what we have a problem with. I personally am not going to address what happens inside the club. Personally, from a Rice and Larpenteur Alliance perspective, we are going to address the impact that establishment has had on the community and the fear. And I've heard that people don't go to that mall to shop or to the restaurants there because, hey, the Lamplighter's there, it seems kind of seedy and unsafe. And I heard there was a homicide there. Like, you don't want to bring your family to pizza in a place there was a homicide, right? That doesn't feel safe. So, anyhow, the update is that the city of St. Paul has taken a very long time, but is finally coming forward with some license conditions on the business, the Lamplighter Lounge, saying that it is now required for them to maintain their license to operate in the city, that they have to do X, Y, and Z things. We would have preferred that they shut the place down. But this is, legally speaking, there are steps that they have to take to not get sued for doing something illegal. So, so the steps are beginning. License conditions being one of the first things, and one of the proposed conditions would be that they monitor the parking lot, and that they address that they have on-site security both inside and outside, and that they address any issues by sending people away who are loitering and things like that. And then the city council has decided to take kind of a unique step in holding a public hearing about the Lamplighter Lounge, and it's coming up on March 24th. So March 24th at 10 a.m., it's going to be virtual, but it is an opportunity for the community around Rice and Larpenteur to tell the city council what the impact has been of this business. And it's not supposed to affect the license condition hearing, it's a separate thing, but it's because it has caused so much pain and strife and loss of life in the neighborhood that, so one thing I'll be doing over the next couple of weeks is trying to organize members of the community to come and sign up to testify to the St. Paul City Council about the impact that the business has had. And I've tried to communicate it with our board of advisors and we will also be sending a letter to the city council. I can testify myself, but I wondered if members of the community would be willing to spread the word and find those those stories and the people who are willing to share them to the city council, because it will really be personal testimony that moves the city council to make lasting change. That's what's going on with the lamplighter, and so it will be slow, and you know, we'll just take it step by step and try to make sure that we can speak with a unified voice. And then the other event that will be coming up will be the second annual Peace March with Mothers Against Community Gun Violence. And I believe that's planned for June 13th. And I know Pastor Dina has worked with those organizers and said that she will do what she can to support that march and work together. So that's what I know.
I want to say one thing that the mothers told me was, we don't want to call it a march. We want to call it a peace walk. They wanted to call it a prayer walk. They're very, very Christian people, and they wanted to call it a prayer walk, but then they didn't want it to sound so religious, and they didn't want, so they said, we're going to call it a peace walk. That's what they told me. So they don't want it. It's not meant to be, you know, a riot or something. It's very, they even said, we'd love to have the women and children in the center and then the men on the outside, like protecting, you know, their whole vision of it is very prayerful.
Yeah, they felt really frustrated that that Nia was killed, and in the videos, the cell phone videos, they saw women fighting together, and then they saw men sort of encouraging it, cheering it on, not doing anything to stop it and protect the women. And so they felt very frustrated that the men in the community wouldn't step in. So they want to deliver that message that we all need to take care of one another.
Yeah.
Okay, Kim. I mean, one comment I have to make, I do agree with, like you said, the city council is coming in and you all are forming, you know, trying to see if the community can come in and discuss about the strip club. I think that's a good idea, but I like to look at things on the safety side. I think Galilee name should not be mentioned there. We can work with the committee because this is a business institute. If they find out that Galilee, they might think that Galilee is an advocate of this thing.
I'd appreciate it, yeah.
And then Galilee could become a target. So we can support the committees and the city council, but Galilee name should not be mentioned there. Okay. That's my personal view. For safety reason.
So that's something you guys will need to decide, you know, as your advisory council and Pastor Dana. And I think originally we had talked about maybe co-authoring a letter that included Galilee and other members of the community. So I can, when I write that letter, I draft that letter, I could forward it on to Pastor Dana and she could circulate it to decide if you guys feel comfortable signing on. But yeah, I understand whatever choice the congregation makes.
I know Pastor Dana has highly thought about this quite a bit, about how visible we want to be. And but we certainly want to support the efforts to improve the area whenever we can, but you know, but to remain safe and keep Pastor Dana safe too, for that matter.
Yes.
I'm tired of being a sitting duck. I feel like Galilee is treated as Galilee is a sitting duck. That's how I feel. Like when I've started to tell people about what I believe about, you know, selling your body and stuff, I have gotten some pushback from people who are like angry. And so I'm back and forth, like, I think Jesus Christ, you know, who hung out with sinners, I think the church has something to say, but I also don't want to be killed, you know, I'm not kidding. But it's also like, I want all the Lutheran churches to come together and be unified, because we do have something to say. Our church has a clear stance about it, but Abraham is so true, it's dangerous.
You know, I think from my experience, and I did work at city council, so it is not abnormal for community members to come together and raise their voices against a problem business or problem property that's affecting quality of life and safety. So I don't want anyone to do anything they don't feel comfortable with, but I certainly will stand right up and tell people that if I live next to the Lamplighter Lounge and I knew that there is multiple homicides happening and brawls outside and I'm trying to raise my children, that's unacceptable to me. And I don't think that, you know, maybe I'm naive, but I don't believe that there'll be immediate risk or harm. But you know, everyone will make that decision on their own. So, and I understand, I mean, there's a difference too between like having the name of your organization on something and speaking up personally. So like, for example, like I work for the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. They're not going to testify against the Lamplighter either. They're a pro-business organization that has a different set of policy platforms and stuff like that. It's not appropriate for them. So it's just about speaking appropriately to who you are as an individual and as an organization.
The Lamplighter has probably been there 50 years or better, haven't they?
I don't know.
I've lived here close to 50 years and they were there when I bought my house.
Amazing.
So the odds of us getting in there and suddenly telling a business, we are putting you out of business, makes us controlling them. And are we here to control others or try to work with others?
Good point.
Well, I can say that from my perspective, I have reached out to the business several times. I have offered to meet, to find ways to work together as a community, keep people safe, and they have not returned my offer. So I don't believe that Rice and Larpenteur will be the community that we hope it will be, as long as that business remains operating in the way it's operating. That's just me. And I know, and I appreciate your perspective, because I like that we can't control others. No, we can partner with others to make it better. And so I agree with you, and I'll keep that in mind. But I really am interested in partnering with those families who are yelling down, close it down. That's who I'm interested in partnering with.
No, but I do agree. Even if it said, once the church needs not mentioning that, I could go marching with the community too. You know, it is the community that doing it, but let Galilee need just stay other aid. We can say support the committee and whosoever. We'll take
I wasn't saying that I disagree with getting them out of there.
Right.
I just
Right.
wonder how realistic it is, because they've been
Right.
there for so many years that it may be tough to get them out of there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Although the other thing that bugs me about it, and now I'm just speaking like off the cuff. Another thing that bugs me about it is that the Stargate nightclub, where the Nepali kitchen is and the Nepali grocery store, that was some shooting, a big gun battle happened outside there. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the city of Maplewood City Council stepped in and shut them down.
Yeah.
And no one even died. And now it's a community asset and an amenity. So why can't we do the same thing at St. Paul? I just don't understand the difference that, several people have lost their lives. So my question is like, to the extent of what is possible, if we have to try.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe it doesn't need to be shut down. Maybe these license conditions will make it safer.
I think you just have to cut off their liquor license.
Yeah.
People will not want to go in there nearly as much.
Bingo.
And apparently none of the other strip clubs around have a liquor license, which seems like a reasonable step to me anyway.
Make the liquor license more expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do that too.
Well,
Well,
Kim,
I will try to share, I got to think through how to engage community in that hearing from the city council. And I will share, the sign up and the opportunity with Pastor Dana. And, if anyone does feel like submitting written or oral testimony to City Council on the impact, certainly invite you to do that. And if you know someone who is more immediately impacted, you could pass it along to them. But it is time to make our voices heard to the City Council.
And
So
I think I should probably start cutting this off. I think keep us informed of any garden or lamplighter developments, but also just generally how we can support what you're doing. Just keep sending things to the pastor and me and other people. Looks like Abe might be of interest too. And I could probably find 4 or 5 people, actual gardeners who could get involved. So it's more than just Catherine and me. And but anyway, really appreciate your work. And
Yes,
what
Kim.
the Alliance is doing. I mean, it's a wonderful. Yes, let's do the love sign.
Love you. Mucho.
I love you. We
Thank
love
you,
you.
Kim. Thank you.
Love, 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 love.
guys, thank you so much for just being
Thank
you,
you.
for caring
Yes.
about the community so much, and for having Pastor Dana be a partner with us. Just thank you. You guys are phenomenal, and I can't wait to do more together.
It's really great to work with so many concerned citizens. I think that's really terrific.
Kim, I have been recording this. Is there any reason why I couldn't put your talk in this discussion up on YouTube? Or is that a bad idea? I don't know.
Oh no, I don't mind. I don't mind. Whatever you'd like to do.
That's for the Galilee people who've missed, didn't have a chance to hang around.
I don't know, Ron. I don't know if it's safe. What do you think? What do you think?
Well,
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with it personally.
let's talk about it, Pastor.
Okay.
It
Oh,
seems
no, that's
fine to
okay
me.
then.
We'll have
You
more
sure, Kim? You sure, Kim?
talk at the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That's
I
why
stand
Oh,
behind
Ron,
Kim. Kim's my soldier.
Yeah.
I'm her peon.
I'll be
Yeah.
on the one side of the man all the time.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay. Abe, did you have something critical to say?
no. While I was saying, I mean, you say you want to put it on the website?
I'll put it on YouTube.
Will it be on a Galilee name?
It'll be something that only Galilee people can see.
Okay, good. That's all. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, have a good afternoon, everybody. Or
Yep.
Thank you
Take care.
very much, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Bye, Kim.
Bye.
Thank you.
Te queremos, te queremos, te
Yeah.
queremos.
adios.